So we know that there's been slowly but surely growing robo-advisory platforms in Malaysia. So how do you view the emergence of more robo-advisory platforms in Malaysia? Is it something that you're welcome in the scene? Maybe Matt, can we get your thoughts on this?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so I have some experience of the growth of robo-advisory business in the US and in the UK. And I think the path that Malaysia is following is very similar to some of those other countries. I would say, overall for MyTHEO, we welcome new entrants to the robo-advisory market. It's still a very, very small market, a very small business. What we need is, more entrants coming in, growing the market. There's plenty of space for other entrants to join. I think going forward, what we'll see is perhaps some more sophisticated offerings coming into the market, and in particular to do with tailoring of portfolios, the ability to customize portfolios more closely to the needs of individual investors. I think overall we're very happy about new people joining, building up the market, raising awareness of robo-advisory.
All right, that definitely sounds that. Are you saying that it's better as the pie continues to grow, as more sophistication occurs? That is basically a win-win situation for all parties involved.
Exactly. There's plenty of space for everyone to grow in this kind of environment. We're still very early days for the robo business setting.
All right, definitely exciting times ahead, that Matt. So, how is MyTHEO? Right now looking at the robo-advisory scene in Malaysia, how is MyTHEO uniquely differentiating from your competitors out there? Maybe Amir, you can start us off, and Matt, after that, if you have any points to add, we would love to hear your viewpoint as well on this.
Okay. On the onset, you can see that all robo-advisors in Malaysia, they come to do what you call financial planning, to replace the human advisor that have been around for so many decades. So in that sense, we are no different than other robo-advisors. But if you look at in terms of process, in terms of partnership, we have partnership from Japan, basically with Money Design. Then the way we structure our portfolio also a little bit different compared to our competitors. You know that we actually classified our asset into 3 different groups: growth, income, and inflation hedge portfolio. So for those investors who want to invest more into high growth profile, high risk investment, they just can go higher allocation to growth, and somebody who want more stability just can go through income portfolio. And the one that want to have already reached, they think they already reached, they want to protect their wealth from actually inflation, they just go straight to inflation hedge. The 3 functional portfolio that we did actually different compared to other robo-advisors in the market.
Before you go on any further, Amir, just for all those who are new to MyTHEO, can you just give us a super quick rundown? What's the difference between growth, income, and inflation portfolios?
Our growth portfolio actually make up 100% on equity ETF. Our income portfolio basically only invest in bond. And our inflation hedge basically invest in all other what we call real asset, consists of gold, other metals such as silver. We also invest in real estate as well as infrastructure and inflation hedge bond. There's a rough overview. We will discuss more detail during the webinar session.
All right. Thanks for sharing that, Amir. Matt, how else besides the differences in portfolio, is there more that MyTHEO has to offer that's uniquely differentiating yourselves?
Amir touched on it, but the key point from my point of view is MyTHEO is unique in terms of how we tailor our portfolios to individuals. Every individual is different in terms of what they need from investing. Everyone has a different time horizon, different needs, different purpose for investing. And what's unique about MyTHEO, I think, is the ability to tailor that portfolio to match the needs of the individual. But in my mind, that's the biggest difference, I think, of MyTHEO compared to some other robo-advisors. So I'll go first, and then Amir will follow after. Thanks again for the time today. I'll cover 2 areas. One, I'll give an introduction, a bit of background about MyTHEO, who we are, what we do, and I'll also look at how MyTHEO can help investors. We'll look at some examples of some portfolios. And then I'll pass it over to Amir. He'll talk more in detail about the investment process and what makes MyTHEO unique. Okay, so what is MyTHEO? Well, it's an automated, personalized investment service. It's completely digital, and what we offer are professional level investment portfolios tailored to each individual. And this is the important thing. As I mentioned, everybody's investment needs are different. Everyone invests for different time horizons, different purposes. They want to take a different amount of risk or returns, different types of returns. And what MyTHEO does is we use our own proprietary models to build a portfolio for each individual that matches that individual's needs. We launched in 2016 in Japan. So we have a track record, a live track record of over 5 years of managing, real client money. And then we launched in Malaysia, June 2019. So we're coming up to our second anniversary here. In total, we have about 110,000 users in total. And the total client assets that are on this platform are over $800 million US. So it's a relatively big base. These are all individual investors. It's all retail investors. The point here is not to kind of boast about the size or anything like that, but just to make the point that this is a proven platform. We already have tens of thousands of people, hundreds of millions of dollars running on this platform. In terms of live experience, as I said, we've been live for 5 years in total. People always ask about what are your returns. The point here is each portfolio is tailored to each individual, so the returns are different. But if you look at a kind of like a representative portfolio, an average allocation, then our realized returns over the past 5 years are up on there, 8.2%. So that's not a back test. Those are live returns. 8.2% for 5 years means in total, an investor who'd come in right at the start would be up about 50%. And remember, this is 5 years that have been very volatile for markets. I mean, this includes 5 years includes the Brexit vote, actual Brexit itself, US-China trade tensions, China growth slowing down, the Trump initial election, 2 Trump impeachments, all of the COVID panic, economic shock, all of that. It's all included in those 5 years. And despite that, the return is 8.2%. Obviously, that nothing is guaranteed here. Things may be different in the future. Someday they may be higher or may be lower in the future. But the point here is that MyTHEO allows you to get access to a big range of diversified global assets, global returns, very simply and very cheaply. Maybe let's go on a little further. Maybe the next slide here. We'll start to talk about a little bit about MyTHEO itself. So it's a digital investment platform. Some people call it a robo-advisory. That's just another name for it. And the point here is it's very easy to use. It's easy to set up. It's very quick to set up the account. It's very easy to invest. It doesn't take any kind of heavy investment experience. Then, of course, it's personalized. As I said, you'll get a portfolio that's personalized to your needs. And then it's also affordable. I mean, we're able to provide this kind of service through the use of our own proprietary technology. We can share a little bit about that later on. This slide here gives a little bit more detail in terms of kind of the numbers involved. I like this slide because it's very clear in terms of kind of the numbers. The point here is it's easy to set up. You can literally open your account in 15 minutes. All of the stuff is done online. It's all electronic KYC, so you can get everything set up extremely quickly. You can open your account. You don't need a huge amount of money. You can open your account with 100 ringgits. That's all it takes. You don't need a large deposit to set up your MyTHEO account. The management fee is very simple. It depends on the size of your account, but the maximum is 1%. And there's a sliding scale depending on the size of your account. You'll never pay more than 1% in terms of annual management fee. And then there are no hidden costs. There's no sales fees. There's no redemption fees. There's no transaction costs, that kind of thing. So it's very it's very simple, it's very transparent, and we found this is one of the reasons that a lot of users have chosen services like MyTHEO, in that it's easy to set up and it's very easy to understand kind of what you're paying for the service.
Thanks for sharing, Mr. Matt. I think transparency is really what the young and retail investors are looking for, knowing that they are not paying more for something that they're not using or stuff. And I just wonder, like you mentioned, that maximum annual fee is 1%, but how low does it get?
Yeah, so depending on the size of the account, the lowest rate is 0.5%, so 0.5%. This is another question we often get in terms of, MyTHEO is a relatively new product. The whole robo-advisory product is relatively new. And so we get questions in terms of, are my assets safe? How secure are my assets? And it's secure in a number of ways. First off, of course, MyTHEO is licensed, regulated by the Securities Commission in Malaysia. We have a digital investment management license. So that's one level of security. The other level relates to what happens to your assets. The key point here is MyTHEO itself doesn't touch any client assets or any client cash. All of the assets are held in an independent trustee, so Malaysian trustees. All of the assets, all of the client assets are held in a segregated account there, which we cannot touch. And then in terms of kind of digital security, obviously this service is completely run online. And so here we use Silver Lake's expertise here in digital security. So we have an extremely secure Tier 3 verified data center and some state-of-the-art digital security around MyTHEO. Clients' assets are protected in a number of ways. One, through the license. Two, through the fact that the assets themselves sit at the trustee. And thirdly, in terms of this kind of digital security that we have wrapped around MyTHEO.
I think it really does give a sense of security for the investors out there, knowing that it's the funds, all the funds actually held by trustees.
Yeah, I think a lot of our investors, a lot of our clients are relatively new to investing, and so naturally they're a little bit nervous about are their assets going to be safe and so on. The point here is that MyTHEO can be tailored for investors of any age, really. We have a broad range of different clients. We have a lot of very young clients, young adults, millennials. Because maybe they don't have that much in terms of assets right now. Maybe they're just starting to save, just starting to invest, but they have perhaps quite a long time horizon. MyTHEO can build a portfolio that matches them and make sure they've got the best chance of growing their assets over the long run. We can also build portfolios for more experienced people, perhaps people who've been investing for a few years. They've already built a pool of assets themselves. They have some sense of what they want to invest in. MyTHEO can help them customize the allocation so that it reflects what the individual wants to invest in. And then, of course, we can tailor the portfolios for retirees as well, people who have got their pool of assets. They're perhaps no longer working, and they need those assets to generate income for them, generate regular income, protect their assets from inflation. And MyTHEO can be tailored to match that there. So the point is, MyTHEO can help a range of different people at different stages through their investing life cycle. Maybe let's go on and look a little bit more about how it actually works. So it's very easy to set up this portfolio. You don't need a lot of experience. You don't need a lot of detailed investment experience. You simply need to answer these 5 questions, and they're very, very straightforward. Things about your age, how much assets you've got to invest in, how much risk you want to take, what's your kind of investment horizon. And based on the answers to those 5 questions, our proprietary model will build a portfolio out of these 3 building blocks. And Amir mentioned them a little bit earlier, and later on we'll show how these building blocks are actually made. But there's a portfolio that's designed for growth. And as Amir mentioned, this is an equity-based portfolio designed to grow the assets over the long term. So it's relatively higher risk, investing in global equity markets. an income portfolio, which is focused on fixed income, so bonds, government bonds, corporate bonds, and aiming to generate kind of more stable returns, a more stable income stream. And then a portfolio that's based on inflation hedge. So this is a portfolio that's designed to maintain the real value of people's assets, protect people from inflation. And so this portfolio is made up of things like real estate, oil, gold, commodities, that kind of thing. But these portfolios can be combined in a very large number of different permutations, well over 200 different combinations of these three assets, or these three portfolios, in order to match the individual needs of each portfolio, of each investor. This is an example of what you'd get if you answer the questions in this way. And here, this example here is somebody who's 45, still working, has a reasonable amount of assets and quite a long investment horizon. And you can see that pie chart on the top right there shows, an allocation across those three different portfolios of, 40% in growth and 34 and 26. And what this is saying is, based on the answers to the questions, from MyTHEO's point of view, this is the ideal portfolio for this investor. And you can see below a backtest of this is what this portfolio would have delivered in the past. You can also see some estimates in terms of, what you could expect in terms of future returns, future range of returns that you could get. And as an individual, you can go and play around with this. You can change some of the answers, change your time horizon, change your risk level. Even if you want to change these specific allocations across these three portfolios until you're happy with that portfolio. And then MyTHEO will go and build that portfolio to match your needs and maintain that portfolio going forward through time. This is a slightly more detailed view of it, coming down from the top, answering the questions, coming up with these three portfolios. The key point is at the bottom, what do you actually have in your account after all of this? Well, you have a bunch of ETFs. Some people, I think, obviously will be familiar with ETFs. They're really mutual funds that are traded on the exchange. And they're a great way for investors to, even if they don't have a large amount of cash to invest, they can use ETFs to invest in a huge range of different assets, a range of different countries, a range of different asset classes, a range of different currencies. And so even with a relatively small amount in your account, you can get a fully diversified portfolio very quickly, very simply, and at a very low cost using ETFs. This is a very common way of building portfolios. And this is what MyTHEO uses to actually create the portfolios for our clients. Then maybe just one last point from me, and before I hand over to Amir, just to go back to this point on fees. This is a very important point in how MyTHEO kind of helps you. We can't guarantee future returns. Nobody knows what the market is going to do in the future. We can't guarantee whether the market's going to go up or down. That bit can't be guaranteed. But what we can say is that fees definitely hurt your returns. Any fee that you pay reduces your returns. And if you think about like a normal investment product, there's a bunch of different fees that you end up paying. A lot of people charge some kind of initial upfront fee, and that can be 3, 4, 5%. Then they'll charge like an annual management fee. Some people charge up to 1.5% there. But then there's other fees that you might not see so obviously. Trustee fees, audit fees, trading fees, brokerage costs, commission fees. All of these things will add up and cut down your returns. If we just go to the next slide, we'll show what it looks like from the MyTHEO point of view. From the MyTHEO point of view, there's no initial fee. You can invest, you can come into MyTHEO, you can redeem at any point in time. You will never pay any costs to come in or go out of MyTHEO. All we'll charge is the management fees, as I said, that's capped at 1%. There's no trustee fees, there are no other kind of audit fees, no brokerage fees, anything like that. All of those fees are absorbed by a GAX MD, which is the company that runs MyTHEO. And so this gets back to this idea of transparency and simplicity. We can't guarantee the future market returns for different assets. But what we can guarantee is that these fees are as low as possible to make sure that any returns you get stay with the investor.